Hello and welcome back to everyone, the rest of mate, and to another edition of AEW Collision out of 10. And yeah, it's not just Collision out of 10 because we got 3 hours of AEW on Saturday night, because we also had Battle of the Belts 8, I think it is now. But yeah, lots going on in that packed hour of wrestling. We started things off with a big singles match, Bryan Danielson versus Andrade Alilo. And these two had a couple of singles matches back in 2018, but first time in AEW. They started also with an exchange hamlocks and reversals for each other out, but Alilo took control after taking a cheat shot. These are two men who just about perfected the technical aspects of wrestling, so they outshined most of the roster if they wanted to. They paced themselves but kept the upping the ante as it went on. Aidlo had a side advantage, but his proficiency of Danielson with submissions and strikes kept him feeling like an underdog in most situations. They felt evenly matched at times, and Andrade was even frustrated as Danielson was out fasting him. It's a fantastic showcase of their skills, and there's a lot to go in future matches. After training several different combinations, Danielson finally kept Andrade down 3 to score a clean victory. The American Dragon extended his sign of respect, and Andrade shook it. Lights after miss, the lights went out, and Malachi Black was there to lay Danielson out with the black mass, and that would be a running theme throughout the show. And yeah, really, really good start. Brilliant match. Andrade, I think, really gets put over even in a clean loss. Danielson's Joe showing how incredible they are, and both showing what they can do. And then, yeah, of course, you had Black coming back post match, really cements the position he'll be in the card going forward. So, yeah, this is a great start to Collision. We then had the newer, angrier Sky Blue in a random match against a young woman called named Hollywood Haley, who was making her AEW debut. Blue made quick make of her and then showed a lot more aggression. Haley got a couple of strikes in, but ultimately getting pinned by the Code Blue. Continuing with her momentum, really enjoying where it's going. I think, yeah, much needed change for Sky Blue, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see where it all goes. Before, we saw the Guns taking on the Outrunners. The Gun may be secondary inhalants, but the opponents were the ones harking back to the start of the 80s and 90s, the headbands and gear. Austin Colson picked up an easy win in less than a minute. Having 2 squash matches in a row was certainly a weird choice, but it did the job, I suppose. Left us to do serious stuff afterwards, but yeah, 6 out of 10 is what it is. There's then time for Eddie Kingston versus Jeff Jarrett. And yeah, legendary Memphis announcer Dave Brown joined the commentary team to call this Memphis street fight between these two. The Man King didn't even bother burying his title to him because he knew it was going to start as soon as he got to the ring, and he was correct. Kingston had to fight not just Double J, but Saturn Singh, Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt also, but there were no disqualifications. After they spent a long time near the stage and they finally made it back to the ring. Kingston was able to get the upper hand for a while, and the number game caught out of him, and Jarrett got the dirtiest win of his career. The match also has some charm of it. She liked the kind of chaos, but there's too much going on to really classify it. It means Lethal gets an ROH title shot, kind of all set out for that, but yeah, it's just a very heel ways to it, and yeah, not much support for Kingston, but for some ways it was enjoyable, some ways very predictable, but I think we all know that Kingston will probably retain when he gets the title shot. 6 out of 10. Next up on Collision, we have Miro taking on Action Andretti. Perry was at ringside to watch the match between her husband Miro and a man who approached her last week. The young high-flyer knew he was outmatched in size and power, so he tried to rely on speed and agility to keep Miro off balance. It worked for a few minutes, but the Bulgarian powerhouse eventually got his hands on him and grounded him with one stiff strike. Perry tried to hide her smile. She watched her husband destroy her prospective client. This could have been a completely one-sided affair, and no one was denied it, but Andretti got a surprising amount of offense. To make it more competitive. The story has benefited more from Miro getting an easy victory, but having a good back and forth contest like this is never a bad thing. If anything, it made Andretti look good in defeat. Miro got the submission win on the camel clutch. Perry applauded her husband, but they lost it to acknowledge her. Miro looked down on Andretti almost with a lack of respect for his efforts for making his way back to the ring. This is a solid performance by both competitors, but the story they're trying to tell is a little confusing and nobody seems to know how to react to it. So yeah, we'll give it time, but I'm not massively clicking with it. It gets 6 out of 10 from me, but yeah, let's just see where it all goes. We then had a third squash tonight as FTR took on Darian Thangston and Bad Thad Brown, easy for me to say, but lights went out after a few minutes. When they came back on, Black was standing in the ring. The lights shot for a second time and came back to reveal Brody King and Buddy Murphy standing next to them. They attacked FTR and left the ring. This wasn't really a match to grade or a result with this segment, but it's clear House Black has set its sight on multiple targets, and yeah, this could certainly get interesting. FTR versus House Black is something I'm very much interested in. That'll be a great match if we ever get to it. So yeah, that good stuff. And yeah, gets a 6 out of 10 for me. It's then time for our main event. Big Bill and Ricky Starks versus Yuta and Casanelli for the tag titles. Starks started to get a little warm up before the match by running around the ring, and he finally got locked up with Yuta and began trading holds and counters. Unlike Bill and Starks' title battle against FTR, this competitive fight between teams more similarities meet the eye. BCC have a similar dynamic to Starks and Big Bill due to the difference in their sizes and their individual styles of wrestling. The similarities allowed some interesting matchups. Starks and Utah were even matched, but whatever one was facing off against Powerhouse from the other team, they became the underdog. When Bill and Castaneda were in the ring together, the 7-foot champions side seemed to be neutralised by the Swiss Sidemen's ridiculous strength. For the third time in one night, the House of Black ruined the match by getting involved. Black distracted the ref while Matthews and King attacked the BCC, allowing the champions to retain the titles. Establishing them as a force to be reckoned with is great, but it kind of did get involved in a lot of matches. FTR and Danielson joined the match, and until John Moxley came through with the crowd to help his BCC brothers and FTR, setting up an interesting dynamic. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a really good match up until that point. House of Black getting involved. Hope it doesn't last too long. We'll see where it all goes. But yeah, I think really establishing them is definitely not a bad thing. So yeah, get a 7 out of 10 for me. I thought it was decent and very much looking forward to seeing where it goes. Moving on then to the Battle of the Belts portion of the show, and the first match was Orange Cassidy versus John Silver, after of course he won the #1 contenders match on Rampage. Silver took control right away and started showing off his power hitting by throwing the champion from corner to corner. Two men who can work comfortably at a fast pace, but their biggest strength is their ability for comedy spots. Even though they did that a few times in the match, they didn't overdo it to make it feel gimmicky. In fact, Silver and Cassidy almost looked like they wanted it to be less about the usual comedy stuff and more about them being good wrestlers. They had some impressive sequences mixed into a fun title match. Even Reynolds hitting Cassidy with the title belt wasn't enough to keep him down for the pin. After weathering the storm, OC hit the orange punch to retain his title. And yeah, I thought it was a decent match, but I think we all knew this was happening. So yeah, it gets a 6 out of 10 for me. It kind of can't get any more of that, just for the non-predictability of it. It's then time for Joe versus Nice for the ROH TV title. This match lasted about a minute and saw Joe retain his title and Muscle Buster. This was another squash in a 3-hour block that had already had quite a few. But I think, yeah, when you look at the opponents involved, it was probably always going to be that way. No disrespect to Nice. So yeah, 6 out of 10. But I just, maybe you wouldn't have put this match in the first place. I'm not sure. Not too sure. Yeah, maybe we could have had a more competitive match for Joe here, because I think we all knew what this was going to be. Before it's time for Statlander versus Nightingale for the TBS belt, and both of these women pride themselves on their power, but Nightingale had Statlander a little outclassed in that time, so she scored the first takedown after an initial struggle. Statlander had a string of good matches since winning the TBS title, and this was no different. She and Nightingale were able to go a little harder than either of them could against a small opponent most of the time. Statlander won with a 450, but as Willow went to shake her hand, Blue came in and tried to convince her not to. Willow shook her hand anyway. Blue looked unhappy with that decision. And yeah, this gets 7 out of 10 for me. This was a really good match between two of the top women in the TBS scene, and yeah, Sky Blue as well, with her new character at the moment, adding intrigue to it all. I thought this worked really nicely, and yeah, it gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Before it's time for the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus the former JAS for the trios belts, Caster and Garcia started the match with a simple lockup and an exchange of waist locks and counters. Anna Jay looked on from ringside as Garcia got a head scissor out of nowhere and started to dance as he does. Danny Magic stopped him and reminded him to stop it during matches. Either Anna got in the ring to talk some sense into him. Bowens got the ref to eject her from ringside for getting in the ring. So former JAS members no longer had her as an advantage for an early point in the match. As expected, the Acclaimed and Alias got the win. This was fun, but it felt like AEW should have put one of the other bouts into this spot. Because yeah, main event worthy, I'm not too sure. I think yeah, there's kind of too little to it really. So yeah, it gets 6 out of 10. Their training ring comes into it. To be honest, I'm not massively into it. The match was okay, but yeah, it just felt like it could have been something more. And overall, Collision Ambassador gets 6 out of 10 for me. I thought for 3 hours of wrestling, yeah, the House of Black return was great, but I think just a lot of squash matches, a lot of matches that for me didn't really get going. Battle of the Belts just kind of feels a bit pointless at this point. So yeah, was I massively in for all this 3 hours of wrestling? I have to say no, I wasn't. But you know, there were some decent highlights there too. But anyway guys, that's it really. Thanks very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, daily wrestling news and subscribe to the channel, greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.